Got it. Okay.
Hi, my name is Robert Cowan. I am a part of Visitacion Valley Community Unity, and we are pleased to have Mark Farrell here with us, San Francisco mayoral candidate for the upcoming election. We are very grateful to you, sir, for making time to be with us out here in Visitation Valley. This is different than the other interviews, as you know, because those were in person, but because of scheduling issues, we're doing it this way. It would have been great to have you in the room with the other 30 to 50 people because it was really a good atmosphere. But hopefully, the viewers of this stream will get a sense of who you are and what you like to say, particularly to Visitation Valley. So I would usually say, please do not applaud, but I don't think that's going to be an issue. Turn off the cell phone. That's not an issue. I will ask you, sir, please refrain from disparaging any of the other candidates. This is really about you and what you plan to do if elected mayor. I will tell you, as I have told them, that at this moment, I don't know who I'm going to vote for. These are actual questions. I have no desire to, and I have no gotcha questions. I'm not trying to be acrimonious in any way. I really just want to know what you think, what you're going to say, and I'm going to make my decision after this interview. It's been an interesting ride, and so I'm looking forward to this one as well.
Well, thanks. Nice,
So,
nice to be with you.
all right. So, if you would, you have an opportunity to make an opening statement if you like.
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you for having me here today. Marlene, I see you in your car there. Good to see you as well. Well, I am a born and raised San Francisco kid, born and raised Democrat here in our city, and proud that my wife Liz and I are raising our three children here in San Francisco as well. This always has been and always will be home for me. I was very proud to have served in City Hall for a little over 7.5 years before. 7 years on the Board of Supervisors representing District 2, became the longest serving budget chair in our city's history, and then became interim mayor in 2018 when Mayor Lee unfortunately passed away. And I will say that I left City Hall in 2018 because of my children. At the time, they were 5, 10, and 12 years old. And if you know me at all, I am a dad first and unapologetically so. And I love coaching their teams. I love traveling together. I love being engaged with their schools. And I take that obligation very seriously. And it's been an amazing 6 years out of City Hall and continuing my career in the private sector. But I will also say that I'm running for mayor this year because of my kids once again. Our oldest is our daughter. We have two boys underneath that, and she just graduated from high school. And gosh, in a few weeks' time, she's going off to college. I won't break down talking about that here today on the Zoom, but I want her to be proud to call San Francisco home when she goes. And more than anything, I want her to move back to San Francisco when she graduates. And that means our city needs to be a city that's affordable. It needs to be safe. We have to have clean sidewalks, and we have to have economic opportunities, not only for you know mid-age professionals, but also young grads as well here in San Francisco. None of those conditions which exist today. And I'm running for mayor because I believe I can make that difference. Combining over 7.5 years inside of City Hall of effective leadership on the issues that matter to San Francisco today that are front and center, and also over 20 years in the private sector in business and in finance, and really combine those backgrounds to hit the ground running on day one. Now, I'm running for mayor because I believe in San Francisco. I believe we have so much going for us as a city that we've always had. Our beauty, our parks, our universities, I think most importantly, our people. We have a spirit and ethos about us that is unique and iconic around the world, and it's worth fighting for. But we're struggling as a city right now. Public safety is the number one concern. Conditions of our streets have never been worse. And our economy is completely stuck in cement as a city, whether you think about downtown or commercial corridors like Leland. And so for me, again, bringing that combination of public and private sector experience, hit the ground running on day one, bring our city back, and make sure not just my daughter, but every one of us can be proud to call San Francisco home again. That's why I'm running. And I'm looking forward to our conversation today.
All right, thank you very much, sir. Let me ask you, if you're elected, what would you like to have accomplished in those 4 years, such that when you look back after just that period of time, you will consider that term a success?
Great question. So, first of all, imagine San Francisco where public safety isn't the number one issue anymore, where we have a mayor that instead of defunding the police department, fully funds our police department. And where instead of a mayor that's, witnessed over 25% of our police department go away under her term, a mayor that actually restaffs our police department so that every single neighborhood, Visitacion Valley, very much included in this, has enough police officers on patrol to keep our residents safe, to keep our merchants safe, and to keep the people visiting our city safe. I believe it's the number one job of government to protect our residents, and I will focus on that as the number one job because I believe the last 6 years have been a failure in that regard. Then imagine a city of San Francisco where homelessness is declining, not on the rise like it is today, where we treat people with compassion and respect, and we offer them shelter and housing. But if not, we take their tents away, and we make sure our sidewalks belong to everybody. They belong, I believe, to young families. They belong to our elderly. They belong to everybody, and I will make sure to follow through on that. And then in terms of our drug crisis, imagine where we're not breaking our own record for drug overdose deaths on our streets every single year, which we are doing today. Our city's approach to the fentanyl emergency that we have is simply not working. We're breaking our own record for deaths on the streets every single year, almost every single month. And that has to stop. We have to get away from simply focusing on harm reduction and actually focus on saving lives, getting people off the streets, getting people connected to services and saving lives, cleaning up our neighborhoods at the same time. We can do it all together. I feel great about what we're doing as human beings and also as stewards of our city. And I will do that. And then lastly, imagine San Francisco where our economy is growing again, as opposed to where we sit today, record offense vacancy rates. Commercial corridors are probably the area that are thriving the most, even those small businesses are down 20 and 30% in terms of revenue and a cost structure that is increasing all the time here in San Francisco. For me, it's a focus on small business. It's a focus on revitalizing downtown and making sure we build for the future and be proactive out of the mayor's office with our business community to bring employers back, to bring jobs back, to bring vibrancy back, not only to the downtown core, but to every neighborhood of San Francisco. Those would be my measurement tools. And I am very confident that after 4 years, we're going to make significant progress on all those aspects of our city.
Okay, so you talked about increasing SFPD staffing. Two questions there. One, exactly how would you do it? And number two, do you have a plan to make sure that Black and Brown are included, increased in the staffing, given the disparity?
Thanks for that question. So to your latter point, absolutely. I mean, has to be part of our equation that our police force represents who we are as a city. And that has to be reflected in our police department. I believe it also, by the way, it's a cute question within policing, but also I believe representation matters inside of City Hall in terms of commissions, in terms of department heads and so forth. I don't believe our current administration actually reflects that, and I will focus on that right away. And in terms of police staffing, generically speaking, number one, we have to increase the budget of our police department once again. Again, this mayor stripped out over $120 million from our police department 3 years ago, factually speaking. And excuse me. And for me, that's not a commitment to public safety. So we have to pass the DROP program, which is on the ballot in November here in San Francisco. We have to massively increase lateral hiring. We actually have to also focus, as I think about it, lateral hiring, we have a budget of $250,000 a year for lateral hiring here in San Francisco across our entire police department, where Alameda County across the bay is offering $75,000 for one recruit. I don't believe that's the right answer, by the way. I don't want to create a mercenary workforce, but we have to be serious about what we're offering and how we're recruiting in San Francisco. And what we're doing right now is simply not working. And that has to be a big priority. And lastly, I will say, our police academy, during my 4 years as budget chair, I partnered with Mayor Lee to make sure that our police academy was growing. And the next year after he passed away and I was mayor, we continued that. And so during those 5 years, we averaged 5 police academy classes a year, which meant the police academy was running 52 weeks out of the year, had over 50 recruits a class. And today, our current administration, factually speaking, averaging 3 police academy classes a year, and the last 2 graduated 17 and 19 recruits. Again, we're not committing to public safety right now. And that to me affects every single neighborhood, every single community here in San Francisco. And we need to make that the priority once again. And we have great men and women in our police department. The officers that I speak with, encounter, are incredible human beings. By the way, if they do something wrong, I'm not afraid to hold people accountable without question. At the same point in time, I believe we need a mayor that, absent bad behavior, is very supportive of law enforcement in a way this current mayor has not been. And with that comes, additional ability to recruit. When recruits know that City Hall is supportive of law enforcement, generically speaking, won't be afraid to hold people accountable, but we'll fully fund that department. We'll make sure we actively recruit. That to me is going to be my priority. And I believe will make a huge difference to the city of San Francisco moving forward.
Okay, so you have made it pretty clear that if you're elected mayor, you plan to fire the police chief. And so my question is two-part. First, why have you made that a public statement? And even if you planned it, and that's not necessarily that you would say it ahead of time. And number two, outline specifics that merit such a certain termination if you're elected.
Sure. Look, I thought I came forward with that when I launched my campaign because I believe one of the things we're missing out of City Hall right now is leadership. And we need to hold department heads as well as the mayor accountable for their actions or inactions in office. And from my perspective, look, Chief Scott is a good man. I've said that from day one. I respect him as a family man, and the average tenure of a police chief in the U.S. is 3 years. He's been here close to 8. I believe we need to thank him for his service. And what we need now for the next phase of our police department is new leadership. Because together with the current mayor, this police chief has overseen a department that was defunded, that has been stripped of over 600 officers since I left office as mayor in 2018. That is getting run over essentially by our police commission, and where the officers are demoralized in the rank and file, and we are very, very tough time recruiting. And to me, as I think about my career in the private sector, if that was the characteristic of any portfolio, any CEO, that CEO would have to get replaced. No judgment on who they are as a human being, no judgment at all. But we need different leadership. And to me, given the depletion of our police department and where we sit, what we need is not only a mayor who will reprioritize public safety from a funding perspective, from a staffing perspective, from a simply how we talk about it perspective as a city government, we also need a new police chief that's going to fight for more budget dollars, fight for more staffing, push back against the police commission if they're getting out of hand with our police officers. That to me is a profile of what we need going forward within our police department. And again, this is not personal. This is simply running the city of San Francisco. And we believe the next mayor is going to have to make tough decisions to bring our city back. And I wanted to make clear that when I launched my campaign and throughout the campaign, that I'm ready to make those tough decisions. And I believe we need that in the next mayor.
So if I understand you correctly, the reasons are because he didn't fight hard enough to maintain staffing and funding in the face of the other issues that were at hand.
Well, and in addition to, again, rank and file that I speak with are very demoralized in terms of the police department. And we're having a really difficult time recruiting. And again, we need a change of leadership to turn all of that around.
All right. So you've also said, and this is kind of a diversion for a second, but you talked about the changes you would make in Muni and MTA.
Yes.
So, the city is being transformed with bike lanes and bus routes and all that kind of stuff. So same question. Why are you making it a public statement that you would change those leaders? And specifically, what are you saying they did that merits it?
Sure. Look, first of all, in terms of our MTA, I believe in our transit first policy as a city. We need better public transportation options. We need better bike lanes and more protected bike lanes throughout the city of San Francisco, without a doubt. However, what I have seen and witnessed, and in every single neighborhood of San Francisco, is the MTA essentially running roughshod over residents and small businesses in a manner that is really turning people away from city government and having people lose faith in our city government. And it seems to be a department that's really run by ideology and not common sense anymore. Close to my house, where we live during COVID, Lake Street was made a slow street. And again, you can agree or disagree with that. But next door to it, California Avenue, a month later, was converted from 2 lanes to 1 lane. And so traffic jams ensued. That doesn't make any sense. Why would we allow that to happen? On Terraville in the outer Sunset, it's been an absolute disaster, not only for residents, but particularly small businesses. This kind of ongoing 5-year plus project. And to me, the saddest part is, having spent a large part of my youth in the Sunset, in high school, and having 2 children in high school over the past few years in the Sunset, is that there are small businesses along Terraville that have been there for multiple generations that are leaving, that closed up shop now because they couldn't hang on because of what the MTA did. And now we're tearing out the heart and soul of our city. To me, again, you have to have common sense and balance things out. What they did at West Portal after what was, of course, an incredibly tragic accident, literally slammed down a new plan to make things pedestrian only for a few blocks and reroute the entire neighborhood and told people you have 10 days to respond. I mean, and you cause fights and put people up in arms and cause consternation. Whatever the right result is, that's not the way you act. That's not the way you operate. And to me, that has to change. I believe we should get away from these kind of capital projects that are really just turning people off to city government and how we operate. Focus on operations. Get Muni bus routes back. Make Muni safe. When my brother-in-law took the trolley home the other day from downtown, he had a woman in front of him smoking heroin the entire time with a baby in the seat over and a mother. We can't allow that to happen. Those conditions should not exist. We should not be conditions as residents to think that that's normal. So to me, focus on operations. Make what we have better. And then we can focus on other things, and traveling to so many neighborhoods like the Bayview in particular, adjacent to Visit Valley. I mean, what they're going to do with the T line, and, it's going to be out of commission for a year and a half, 2 years at a minimum. If you have faith that the MTA abides by their timelines. And if you look at Terraville, you look at Van Ness and major projects, there's no faith to be had in these timelines of these major projects. They're being told that they're going to be out of Muni lines or out of public transportation for a few years. That's inappropriate. We need to focus on every single neighborhood in our city, making sure that they feel serviced by our public transportation, rather than kind of focusing on these capital projects that suck up so much time and effort, so many headlines, and again, causes fighting amongst neighborhoods that is just unnecessary. And to me, we need different leadership to make that a priority.
All right. You mentioned, thank you for that. You mentioned transit first. You say you support it. Can you tell us what it is and the degree to which you regularly catch the bus?
Sure. Look, transit first is essentially saying that, we cannot afford as a city to have the next person move here with their own car and drive that car around by themselves. That would clog up our streets in our city more than any other thing, policy, if you will, that could happen. So it is our obligation as a city and our policy to make public transportation as accessible and as good as possible, to drive people to public transportation, to drive people to other modes of transportation, like biking, like walking, that is not one person, one car. And I believe in that. We through and through. So that to me is what we talk about when we say transit first. The bus lines I take the most are the 1 and the 38. I grew up taking the 30 and the 22. Very frequently, my parents let me take Muni by myself when I was from third grade on after school. So I've been on Muni my whole life. I'll admit, running a campaign right now, I'm on Muni a lot less than I would like to be because I'm going across the city. I'm going to different events all day long. So I don't want to be facetious and tell you I'm on Muni all the time right now because I'm not. I take it when I can, but it's, like I said, given the campaign and the schedule thereof, it's really challenging to be on as much as I'd like to be.
All right. So outside of the campaign season, you are a regular Muni passenger, you would say.
Sure. To me, we drive, I have a car, I have a bicycle, I walk a lot, and I ride Muni. And so, my office for the past X number of years has been close to my house, so I've actually walked to it mostly. And so I would prefer to do that, to be blunt with you, over any other form of transportation. To me, it's just healthy to get out there. As a city kid, I'm happy when it's 55 and foggy. That feels comfortable to me. And so walking to and from work has always been a healthy outlet for me. And I try and do that as much as possible.
Got it. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yep.
All right. So back to safety. The plan to use license plate readers and facial recognition cameras and drones. Do you plan to use those things? And well, yeah. And how will that, if so, how will that impact Visitation Valley?
Look, I believe we need to do, especially with the shortage of police officers. Um, I believe we need to give our existing police officers every tool at their disposal from a technology perspective to do their job and to keep us safe. Again, and it's especially in light of our police staffing shortage that we have. When I was on Leland a number of weeks ago, there was an officer actually walking down the street, and I talked to him and I said, it's great you're on foot patrol. I mean, amazing to see you out here, right? And he said, well, I'm actually stopping by. I said, tell me about police staffing today. He said, the number of officers they were supposed to have was 10 at a minimum staffing levels. And obviously that's out of Ingleside as well covers the Valley. I said, how many do you have on duty today? He said, we got 4. And one of them's on mandatory overtime. And by the way, that is so consistent with other police stations as well. And every shift that I've seen, encountered, talked to people about. So when I think about police staffing, is you can say, hey, we're down 600 officers, which is 25% of our police department. But when you think about who's actually in your neighborhood on patrol or not because of police staffing shortage, it really starts to bring it home, and I believe localizes it. But in any case, so to me, that becomes the big priority. Sorry, your question. I'm apologize. I went down a train of thought there.
Yeah, I'm talking about license plate readers and facial
Yeah. Sorry.
recognition.
So, right. So yes, look, I believe in using those technology tools within our existing police department. Drones, I think in particular, have the ability to be able to actually chase and pursue criminals when we have an anti-chase policy as a city government. I think that has great potential. License plate readers, yes, as well. Look, the amount of moving violations, I think it's like down 98% here in the city of San Francisco compared to, X number of years ago. People are simply not obeying traffic laws. And, I mean, of course, a lot of people do, but it's, the threat of being caught right now is just not there. We don't have enough cars on patrol. And in the absence of that, again, if we can leverage technology to make a law enforcement presence more well known or more present in our neighborhoods to have people abide by the law, I'm all in favor of that.
And how do you balance the need for security and safety against privacy rights?
Yeah, look, fair question and tricky balance. I think on the margin, I err on the side of law enforcement and being able to enforce the law and having a presence in our neighborhoods. But I think it's a fair question, and to the extent that those issues do come up, I think that they're worthy of conversations as a city government.
All right, so I guess in the world today, the privacy issue takes a back seat because of and I'm just really kind of repeating what you're saying because of the need for safety. That's pretty much what you're saying.
Again, that's what I would err.
Okay. All right. So last question on safety. Considering the our history of as a nation and as a city of disparity in the criminal justice system, mass incarceration in the name of law and order of Black people, brown people, as you increase police staffing and police funding, how do you prevent a return to uh, the disparity? Because the issue is, it's profiling, it's greater sentences, it's harsher treatment. And so as you arrest people, there's disparate treatment all across the board. So how do you address that?
Um, Appreciate you bringing that up. It's a very real issue here in San Francisco, and to your point, across the country. Look, a lot of the reforms that we've put in place, over 200 reforms within our police department over the last few years, again, give Chief Scott credit for that and leading those reform efforts inside of our police department are aimed towards reducing those disparities. Won't talk about a prosecutorial disparity that's within the district attorney's office. I think we are, quite frankly, very lucky to have Brooke Jenkins as our district attorney, and have great faith in her judgment to lead her office in that regard. Look, I think the biggest thing that we can do as a city government, to be perfectly blunt with you, we have to focus on correct policing within our residents here in San Francisco. We also have to have a city government that's focused on giving, as I think about young children, people coming up, being raised here in San Francisco, more opportunities and more economic opportunities, so that people are not turning to lives of crime. And that cuts across all racial lines, by the way, to be sure. And I don't think we're doing that in a way that's been focused. I've been very public that I want to be the mayor that's been the most proactive with our public school families here in San Francisco. Our public school system has suffered and is suffering. And to me, while I can't step in the shoes of the school board members and their right to dictate policy and adjust the budget or preside over the budget of the school department or the school district, I want to be the most proactive mayor in history in San Francisco, working with our public school families and our children to better their lives and to give them a chance at future success. And we don't talk about that enough, in my opinion, as a city government. So what does that look like? Third grade reading proficiency is one of the three pillars of our public school system, and making sure we get that right, because it's a marker for success, not only academically in grammar school and high school and beyond, but in life. It's actually, to your point about incarceration, it is what the California Bureau of Prisons uses to plan for future prison beds, is that statistic. I say that only because it's important we get that right and focus on it. We have a Department of Early Childhood inside of City Hall that allocates millions of dollars to youth programs every single year. What I've committed to is that the first funding priority will be third grade reading proficiency programs out of that department within City Hall to benefit our public school families and benefit our public school children, to plan and to get them to future success levels that we are not doing today. And I believe I can have a dramatic impact as mayor on that, despite our public school struggles here in San Francisco. Second of all, I believe that we need to have a mayor mandate the MTA work with our public school district in terms of bus routes and frequency, in particular in the morning, so that public school families and children that get to the bus stop on time, and if anybody has children, getting your kids out of the house, I don't care who you are, is a tough thing in the morning. But if you get to a bus stop on time to get to school, it's really disheartening when you have a full bus drive by or you don't see a muni bus for 30 minutes and now you're late. And truancy post-COVID in San Francisco in particular is very acute. And it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, because when kids don't show up to school, that's part of the formula of how we get funded as a school district. So we need to make sure and have a contract with our public school families that if you show up to get to the bus stop on time, you're going to get to school on time. I will do that as mayor. And then lastly, in terms of public safety, look, during COVID, the public school district cut ties with our police department. And I might have not have agreed with that decision, but that's their decision. But I still hear from public school families that, you know what, not only, and look, to be sure, there have been some egregious instances since then, right? Lowell High School earlier this year, there was a man found lurking in the women's bathroom early in the morning, and things like that happen in our schools, and we have to address those. But absent that, I hear from families all the time about, hey, look, when my kid goes onto school grounds, they have to walk through tenant encampments or have to walk through other types of street behavior, drug dealing, if you will. There's a guy in the inner Richmond, not a public school, mind you, it was a parochial school, that has a tent and a sign out there, free fentanyl, and has been in the papers quite a bit. And look, kids need to be in the right mind to walk on a school grounds, to have an open mind for learning. It's hard enough. And if they have to walk through that type of street behavior, it's not going to happen. They're going to be in a different place. And so to me, what I've committed to is a priority 311 line that any street behavior within a 1 block radius of our public schools next year gets knocked out in 24 hours. And let me also give an asterisk and say, I'm open to any and all more suggestions. I want to be proactive with our public school families, to make sure that they're supported in ways they've never been supported inside of City Hall. Look, whether it's been the fact that I was born and raised here in San Francisco or raising 3 kids here, that to me is a huge priority that doesn't get talked about enough right now in City Hall.
All right. I appreciate that. So let's talk about housing.
Yep.
What is upzoning, and what's your position on it?
What is upzoning? I mean, the ability to raise height limits within a context of housing. I believe we need to do that here in San Francisco. Look, we have a housing shortage. It's contributing a great deal to the affordability crisis we continue to have as a city. And for me, I believe we need to do it. I've been very public with my plans in terms of to increase housing here in San Francisco. Upzoning is a big part of that. I believe we need to build housing in every single neighborhoods. I also believe the biggest chance or opportunity for upzoning and the most units does exist in the downtown, south of Market, and Mission Bay neighborhoods, already very, very dense environments, best served by public and regional transportation and so forth. But I also believe we need to build more housing in every single neighborhood. And I look forward to, driving housing results in a manner that has not been seen here over the past 6 years inside of City Hall.
Okay, so I just got word that needed to be the last question. We had more to discuss, but I do appreciate the time that you have allowed us, and hopefully people will hear what you have to say and get a good sense of it. So thank you again. This is your opportunity to make a closing statement.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. I do appreciate it. Visitacion Valley, I say often, is one of the jewels of the city of San Francisco that doesn't get talked about or recognized enough. And so I appreciate you having me here today. And it's, I have a lot of friends in the neighborhood. I just think it's a special place that needs a lot more attention out of City Hall. Again, I'll just conclude by saying that in terms of this election, it's going to come down to two questions. One, do you believe we need change inside of City Hall? And second of all, who's the person to deliver that change here in our city? And for me, I absolutely believe we need a change of direction in City Hall. And personally, it's about combining a successful track record of 7.5 years inside of City Hall, fighting for public safety, fighting to clean up our streets, fighting and being proactive with our business community. All the issues that matter today are things I fought for in City Hall, but also combining that with my private sector experience to start hitting the ground running day one. I believe experience matters. I believe competence matters. And I believe a strong vision for the city of San Francisco moving forward matters. And who do you believe will deliver those results for the city of San Francisco with conviction, withstand the criticism that will come their way, and bring our city back? I'm running for mayor because I am that person, and I look forward to our continuing dialogue, and I look forward to seeing everybody down at Visitacion Valley very, very soon.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate your time. You have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.
And
Likewise.
thank you all who have attended today, and I hope you all have a good day as well.
Bye, Marlene.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too.
Thank you.